What's up, guys? We've got a PRL Race Maf intake. This is the bigger Maf than stock for the 10th gen Civic SI. We've got Project FC3 behind me. We're going to replace our AEM intake with this, so let's get going. What's up, guys? It's JP from Edge Autosport.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. Like I said, we've got a PRL intake here. This is the Race Maf version. So I've kind of just lightly assembled this here. It's not gonna, I need some clamps and stuff, but this is what it looks like. Just a basic piece of silicone, a billet aluminum Maf housing, which is really sweet. This thing is machined really nicely. And then an air intake filter right here. So we're gonna swap out our AEM intake system, and really not because we don't like the AEM, not because it doesn't work. We've done a video on the AEM. We've shown you how much power we made and the effect that it had, which we enjoyed, we liked. But in preparation for a big turbo, we're gonna need a bigger intake. On a MAF controlled car or on a MAF sensor based car, you know, the bigger the intake, the more range of voltage that you can use out of the MAF sensor. So if you're flowing more air, you need a bigger MAF housing in order to read that air coming in. So anyway, we're gonna put that on in preparation for a big turbo down the road here shortly. But in doing that, we just wanted to show you what does a bigger intake do, if anything, when you're just considering a stock size intake versus a Race Maf on just a stock turbo, mostly bolt-ons car. So we're gonna install this thing, and we're gonna do a back-to-back dyno. We're gonna dyno the AEM intake right now, and then we're gonna install this thing and dyno this. So hope you enjoy. Okay, so we made 296.7 foot-pounds of torque. We made 223.1 horsepower. The curve looks very similar to where we left off last a couple months ago, the last time we had this thing on the dyno. Only thing different is the wrap, of course, which doesn't change anything. So yeah, this is our starting point for the intake. Let's see what the PRL intake is gonna do. Okay, so the AEM intake is on the car here already. This is a super simple process. You've probably seen us in past videos take this on and off. We've done an install on this, so this is super easy on the Civic 1.5Ts. We're just gonna pop off the air box that comes with the AEM, the piping and the filter, and then put the PRL on. Okay, we're gonna put the MAF sensor that we just took off the old intake and put it on the new PRL intake right here first, before we put it on the car. So here is the AEM intake, here is the PRL intake. Essentially, these would be at the same location right here. You can see the PRL Race Maf is way, way bigger. You can pretty much fit the AEM intake completely, fully inside of the PRL. So this definitely helps open up flow, and most importantly, allows the Maf sensor to read a lot more air coming through once it's programmed to do so. Okay, so now we have the intake off, the AEM intake off. We're gonna put the PRL on. We're gonna start with this silicone coupler, and then we're gonna attach the bracket to the MAF housing, and then the filter, put the MAF housing on the car, and then put the filter on the MAF housing. So it should be a pretty simple process. And so let's go. Taking the MAF housing and this rubber bushing that PRL gives you, you're gonna put one side onto the MAF housing, just like this. And this is just to keep it from vibrating, or to keep it from transmitting the vibrations, I should say. And then the bracket goes on the other side, just like that. And then we're gonna put this, this nut on the other side, loosely. We're gonna keep it loose while we put it on the car, just so that we can attach the other two holes onto the car. Now the other two holes are gonna go, of the bracket are gonna go up against kind of this subframe, upper subframe part, the radiator support back here. So can't really see it on camera, but there are two holes where this, this bracket fits up to. Okay, so once everything is loosely attached, go ahead and just twist and turn the silicone and the MAF housing so that everything fits flush on the factory intake inlet pipe right here, and the MAF housing and everything kind of sits smoothly. We'll tighten down the clamps next, and we'll start with this furthest part away here. Okay, take a wrench next and just tighten down the three bolts, the two bolts and the one nut on the bottom of the MAF housing for the bracket. Okay, next up, take your filter and just pretty much finish the job at that point. Make sure your MAF sensor is plugged in, which we haven't done yet, but super easy to do. Just take your MAF sensor right here, plug that in, and next up is the filter. Okay, everything is back together now. We are going to flash the new MAF with the PRL Race Maf calibration and see what this thing does. Okay, so the results are in for the PRL intake. We've got like 4 or 5 more horsepower and torque, right around, you know, anywhere from about 3,600 RPM through, I don't know, 4,700 RPM around there. So, so not much of a gain, but definitely a gain. I mean, that's definitely like a difference in flow for sure. We've already gained most of the horsepower from bolting on an intake from the AEM as far as what the stock turbo can do. But there is definitely a little bit more flow in there and a little bit easier for the turbo to pull that air in, so it does make a little bit more power and torque, which we're happy with. But again, most importantly, this is going to be for a bigger turbo later on. Make sure it flows a lot more air, and the MAF sensor is able to read all that air coming in. So we're pleased with the results. Actually, considering what PRL says about like 15 horsepower, 15 or 20 horsepower, something like that, I think they actually say 20 horsepower and 15 pound-feet of torque. Going from stock to this one, that actually lines up perfectly with what we're seeing with the changes here plus the AEM intake. So it is probably a little bit better than the AEM intake, getting this specific short ram intake. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. Let us know what you think. Put some comments below. Let us know if you have any questions. Head over to edgeautosport.com if you'd like to pick up one of these intakes. We have them on our site ready to go, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for tuning in, guys.